Good evening, boys.
Two weeks in a row, terrific, and well, you must be. Is that the best win by the Dockers this year? Of the three?
Yeah, look, the Kangaroos game was obviously pleasing. I thought the way we played against Geelong at home, but probably on the road, I would say yes, that's the best game we've played. And it's interesting when you have the dynamics and who you have out and available at the time, what some of the players on the other end of the list can do.
I think Port led you in the combined, inside 50s. I think it was about 19-17 in red time, but your boys really stuck thick, didn't they? Got 8 goals to 2, I think, as opposed to what Port could do, which was just fantastic.
Well, we got off to a good start and really put it on Port Power. We sort of had indicated to the playing group that on the back of the showdown the week before that they might have been just marginally off. So we went after that, and it was a real focus for the group. And once we got ahead on the scoreboard, a lot of players were running with a lot more confidence in different areas of the game, and we're creating havoc in close and around stoppages and things like that. So we really gained an ascendancy early.
Harvey, Sparrow, mate, congratulations. Great win. Tell us, how did you handle the Matthew Pavlich situation? Firstly, when did you know that he was going to be out? And then secondly, what did you say to the boys? Did you restructure your forward line? What can you tell us?
Well, we basically knew after our training session on Saturday morning over in Adelaide that he was still a bit sore and he wasn't going to get up, so hence we made the change. Then we're always sort of going to have McFarlane and Tarrant and Murphy and those sort of guys down there. I think in time that'll be our forward structure. I think Pav will come back into the side possibly this week, just depending on how he comes up. He might play a little bit more midfield if he does, and we'll just see how those sort of different structures work at this particular stage of the year.
I'd like to have a knee problem like Reece Palmer.
Yeah, well, Brad, it's like when you've got that little nick on your cartilage, it just tags you. And what you don't want it happening is for that to tear any more than what it already is. Otherwise, then you go in for an arthroscope, and then it can have sort of long-term effects. So you just got to be careful how you monitor the younger player.
Where did the report come that he might be out for the season? Because I think
that was me, Brad. At that stage, I wasn't totally sure on where the extent of Reece's injury. We knew that he had a cartilage problem. I didn't actually know how sort of serious or non-serious it was. So we gave him the week off. He came up quite well. As I said, we're just going to monitor at this stage.
They could probably give him the NAB Rising Star Award now anyway, so even if he did miss the rest of the season. Apart from Rioli and Cochin, he's got to be odds-on, doesn't he? What do you think? He's going to win it?
It's hard for me to say. Obviously, they look at a lot of different things. Cochin's the one that's really coming to the fore in the last couple of weeks. And it always helps playing in the side that wins a lot like Rioli. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they come up with.
Now, you spoke to Mark Williams, I believe, about Josh Carr. How did that go? Was that a friendly discussion, or what did you say to him, Harves?
Well, it's interesting when you speak to Mark and when you coach. Look, we're just standing there pre-game. I was standing there. Mark came over and had a chat to me. Obviously, I had an association with Mark when he was reserve coach at Essendon, and we got on really well, actually, and he just came over and he spoke to me about what it's like to be a coach in a two-team town, and just spoke to me about a number of things, which I thought was, really good for him to go out of his way and do that, particularly on the eve of a game that was just about to take place.
And as far as Josh Carr goes, he said, look, I was winding people up, or, we're not chasing him, or what did he say?
I just said, stay away. He said, okay. And then we just sort of moved. Look, as I said, there's a mutual friendship there, and we understand that football's an industry where business is business. So.
Well, Josh had his best game for a long time, and it was just unbelievable how uncanny it was at AAMI. He knows the ground better than anybody, I'm sure, but the expanses of AAMI isn't a hell of a lot different to Subi, is it? But he just seems to be found wanting a little bit at the bigger ground of Subiaco Oval. Is it the closeness? Is it a little bit softer underfoot? Is it he just knows where to go, perhaps at AAMI? What do you think it is, Harves?
Yeah, well, he would have played, I'm assuming, 60 games there, Brad, in his career. So it would be a little bit of that familiarisation of surrounds and the ground itself. And when you play at AAMI Stadium, there's always that wind blowing down the ground, and you always have to cope and deal with that. I think Josh is getting a bit more time in the midfield than us asking him to do jobs on the opposition players. So I think with that little bit of freedom, and even a guy like Farmer, for instance, on the weekend we played him up on the wing just to sort of get him into the game, if you know what I mean. So just saw some direct results with that.
And Mundy seems to have a new role too. The last couple of weeks, you've played him in the midfield at the stoppages. He's been very good. Can he get some immediate pace off the mark? He tends to lope, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, Brad. There's a time when you actually learn to rest in a game. Not that there's much time in the game now, but he just sort of goes at the one bat the whole time. Having said that, he did get 6 clearances, which would be the most ever for David in the game. At some stage, I was talking to the coaches this morning, and we want sort of with your midfield and where you want to go to. And, he should be part of that in the near future.
Hey, just going back to Josh Carr, will you re-sign him, and why haven't you re-signed him yet?
Well, contracts and negotiations can take time, and that's where it's at, really. I haven't gone or divulged into where that's at the moment, but I know that they have spoken. How far it's gone, I don't know. But in time, Josh is the vice captain of the club. In fact, it was his first game as captain on the weekend, so he's full of confidence. 1 from 1, Brad.
He'll be wanting to get out there and toss the coin in the derby.
Yeah, it's been terrific with us, and you've never took a backward step. I mean, all year I've been badgering you about, will there be more retirements, etc., and you've left the door slightly ajar, and it's all the dominoes just seem to be falling into place. Is it all the players doing, or have you and the rest of the match committee and the club had a bit of a hand in sitting down with these players and deciding, where their future lies at the footy club?
No, I think me as a coach in first year at Fremantle and respecting the guys that have been at Fremantle for a length of time, you go into discussion about it, and then in the end you let the player decide what's the right time for him to do it and when. And naturally, it's got to be based around performance and mentally where he's at. So that's where it's been, and I think I've been really good at handling those situations. Even last year with guys like Shane Parker and those sort of guys, and Belly and Matthew Carr and etc. Earlier this Troy Cook last year. So I've had a number of them, and So Sean, we sort of spoke a couple of weeks ago, and Sean was fairly adamant. He's sort of really strong-headed about what he wants to do and when he wants to do it. So that's the way he played his footy, but he's been sensational. And great guy, Brad. I don't know if you guys and Barrow, you know him internally, but just a fantastic guy.
Ripper fella, yep.
How much does it mean to a footy club, Harvey? I mean, you spent the majority of your lifetime at Essendon, and now you're at Fremantle. I mean, it's hard to replace people like Sean McManus, Shane Parker, Peter Bell, Troy Cook, and then you get into the boot studders and the people who really do the job for next to nothing.
Yeah, I think what we've got to be careful of with football in our industry is that, a lot of the characters are possibly going out of the game because of the extreme pressure that everyone's under. And, there's a lot of restrictions on what a player can and can't do on and off the field. And so you just don't want the guys to be too mundane in their thought process and their behaviours at times. I'm not talking about anything unusual or untoward here. I'm just thinking that people evolve as characters and also, naturally, as footballers. So Sean's very much from the old school, Brad, and Barrow, and he's one of those guys that likes to have a beer and enjoy the camaraderie of his teammates. And I'm sure, on Sunday night that hopefully when we win the game, he'll sit back and reflect on a lot of great memories. So
you'd be hoping on a big Purple Army turnout on Sunday?
Yeah, look, it's just interesting. I went to the rugby last week and to see Australia versus South Africa, and what I was amazed was the colour and the patriotism of the supporters of the Australian rugby. And there was this sea of yellow, and everyone's kitted out. And I think football, as in Aussie rules, we need to get better as supporters and more parochial and more patriotic with just the colours that we wear to the game. And I'm going to really push that from a marketing point of view, that when our supporters come to our games, that there's just massive purple. And so you might even see me with a scarf throughout the course of the week, and maybe a hat on.
I'm sure at the...
I just think it's fantastic. Yeah. I just think we're just a little bit behind in rugby in that way.
Harvey, are you mindful that you don't want the boys to take their eye off the ball? They've had 2 terrific wins. You've got the big derby that's enough in itself. Sean's farewell game. I mean, you've got to be careful about build-up sometimes. That you don't overcook it. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And West Coast has got one more day's break, then has to reflect on the build-up to the game too, and a day's break. So, no, I won't go over the top. And I think one of the things that Chris Conley taught me was that you don't have to make it a big build-up. It just happens throughout the course of the week in the city of Perth. So it'll be a low-key week.